Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to our channel where we discuss real-life challenges and empower each other with knowledge and wisdom. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects countless women, especially those of us who are entering or living in our golden years. We're talking about how older women can protect their hearts from narcissists. Before we begin, I want you to know that if you find value in today's content, please show your support by hitting that like button. It truly helps our community grow. Don't forget to share this video with any woman in your life who might benefit from this information. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss our empowering content. For those who want to go the extra mile in supporting our mission to help women protect themselves, consider leaving a super thanks. Every bit of support helps us create more valuable content for our community. Now, let's address something that many of us don't want to acknowledge but desperately need to understand. As we age, we don't become immune to manipulation, emotional abuse, or toxic relationships. In fact, research suggests that older adults, particularly women, can be especially vulnerable to narcissistic partners for reasons we'll explore today. Whether you're recently divorced, widowed, or simply looking for companionship after years of focusing on family and career, you deserve love that's genuine, respectful, and nurturing. You deserve a partner who sees your worth, not someone who sees you as an opportunity to exploit your kindness, resources, or emotional availability. Today's discussion isn't just about recognizing red flags. We're going to talk about building an armor of self-awareness, creating boundaries that protect your heart and your assets, and most importantly, reclaiming your power to choose relationships that truly serve your highest good. Understanding narcissism in later life relationships. Let's start by understanding what we're dealing with. Narcissistic personality disorder affects approximately 1% of the general population, but narcissistic traits and behaviors are far more common. When we talk about narcissists in the context of relationships, we're referring to individuals who have an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. But here's what makes this particularly relevant for older women. Narcissists don't age out of their behavior patterns. In fact, they often become more sophisticated in their manipulation tactics over time. A 70-year-old narcissist has had decades to perfect their charm, their sob stories, and their ability to identify and exploit vulnerabilities. Think about it this way. A narcissist in their 20s might be obvious in their self-centeredness. They might openly brag about their achievements or throw tantrums when they don't get their way. But a narcissist in their 60s or 70s has learned to be more subtle. They've discovered that playing the role of the wounded gentleman, the misunderstood artist, or the grieving widower gets them much further than obvious arrogance. These older narcissists often present themselves as incredibly charming, attentive, and interested in everything about you. They seem to hang on your every word, remember details about your life, and make you feel like the most fascinating woman in the world. This is called love bombing, and it's particularly effective with women who may have spent decades putting everyone else's needs before their own. After years of caring for aging parents, raising children, supporting spouses through career challenges, or dealing with your own health issues, the sudden appearance of someone who seems completely focused on you can feel like a miracle. Finally, someone who wants to take care of you for a change, someone who sees how special you are, someone who appreciates all the sacrifices you've made. But here's the crucial difference between genuine admiration and narcissistic love bombing. Genuine admiration grows slowly as someone gets to know you. It's based on your real qualities, your character, your values, and your authentic self. Narcissistic love bombing, on the other hand, is intense and immediate. It's based on what the narcissist thinks you want to hear, not on who you actually are. A genuine partner will be interested in your flaws as well as your strengths. They'll want to understand your complete story. including the difficult parts. A narcissist will only be interested in the parts of your story that either make them look good by association or that they can use later to manipulate you. Let's talk about why older women might be particularly targeted by narcissists. First, there's often an assumption that older women are lonely and desperate for companionship. While this is far from universally true, narcissists operate on stereotypes and assumptions. They see an older woman and immediately begin calculating what vulnerabilities they can exploit. Second, older women often have accumulated assets. They might own their homes outright, have retirement savings, social security income, or other financial resources that a narcissist finds attractive. Unlike younger women who might not have established financial independence, older women often have something concrete that a narcissist wants. Third, many older women come from generations where women were taught to be accommodating, to put others first, and to work hard to maintain relationships even when they're not fulfilling. These deeply ingrained patterns can make it difficult to recognize when someone is taking advantage of your generous nature. Fourth, if you're recently widowed or divorced, you might be navigating the dating world for the first time in decades. The rules have changed, the warning signs might look different than they did when you were younger, and you might not trust your instincts as much as you should. Finally, older women often have adult children who are busy with their own lives. This can create a sense of isolation that narcissists are experts at identifying and exploiting. They position themselves as the solution to your loneliness, the companion who will fill all the empty spaces in your life. Now, let's be clear about something important. Age brings wisdom, experience, and strength. Older women are not inherently more vulnerable than younger women. But the specific vulnerabilities that come with this life stage, combined with the sophisticated manipulation tactics of experienced narcissists, can create a perfect storm if you're not aware of what to look for. Red flags, specific to older adults. The red flags of narcissistic behavior don't change with age, but they often become more subtle and harder to detect. Let's explore the warning signs that are particularly relevant for older women entering new relationships. The first red flag is excessive charm and attention right from the beginning. If someone you've just met is telling you that you're the most amazing woman they've ever encountered, that they've been waiting their whole life to meet someone like you, or that they feel an instant deep connection, pay attention to how this makes you feel versus what your rational mind is telling you. Yes, it feels wonderful to be appreciated and desired. But genuine connection builds over time as two people get to know each other's authentic selves. If someone claims to be deeply in love with you before they've seen you handle stress, witnessed your daily routines, met your friends and family, or navigated any real challenges with you, they're in love with a fantasy, not with you. The second red flag is rushing the relationship timeline. This might look like wanting to move in together after a few weeks, talking about marriage or permanent commitment very early, or insisting on meeting all your friends and family immediately. While it might feel flattering that someone is so eager to be part of your life, healthy relationships develop at a natural pace that allows both people to maintain their independence while building intimacy. Narcissists rush relationships because they want to establish control and dependency as quickly as possible. Once they've isolated you from your support system and made themselves indispensable to your daily life, it becomes much harder for you to see their behavior clearly or to leave if you recognize problems. The third red flag is excessive interest in your financial situation. Now, let's be realistic. When adults enter into serious relationships, financial compatibility and security are legitimate concerns. There's nothing wrong with wanting to know that a potential partner is financially responsible and stable. But there's a difference between appropriate financial discussions and someone who seems overly interested in your assets, your income sources, or your financial decision-making processes. Red flags include asking detailed questions about your retirement savings, wanting to know about your will or estate planning, offering to help you manage your finances, or suggesting that you should combine resources very early in the relationship. B. Particularly wary of someone who presents themselves as financially comfortable, but then has mysterious money problems that they need your help with. The story might be a business deal that's temporarily tied up, an inheritance that's delayed, or medical bills from a recent procedure. These sob stories are designed to test your generosity and willingness to provide financial support. The fourth red flag is isolation tactics. Narcissists want to become your primary source of validation, support, and social interaction. They might start by making subtle criticisms of your friends and family. Your daughter is too controlling. Your best friend is jealous of your new happiness. Your neighbor is nosy and inappropriate. Initially, these comments might seem like your new partner is being protective of you or trying to help you see relationships more clearly. But over time, you might notice that there's always something wrong with everyone in your life except for them. They're the only one who truly understands you, supports you, or has your best interests at heart. Isolation can also look like monopolizing your time. They want to spend every evening together. They need you to be available whenever they call, or they make plans that prevent you from maintaining your existing relationships and activities. They might frame this as romantic devotion, but healthy. Relationships enhance your life without requiring you to abandon the people and activities that were important to you before. The fifth red flag is inconsistent behavior and mood swings. Narcissists can be incredibly charming and attentive when they want something from you or when they're trying to repair damage from a previous outburst. But they can also be cold, dismissive, or even cruel when they're not getting what they want or when they feel confident that you won't leave. You might notice that your partner's personality seems to change depending on the circumstances. They're wonderful when you're alone together, but dismissive when you're with other people. They're loving and attentive when they want something, but distant and critical when you need support. They remember every detail about topics that interest them, but consistently forget things that are important to you. This inconsistency is particularly confusing because the good times feel so good that you start to doubt your perceptions during the bad times. You might find yourself walking on eggshells, trying to figure out what mood they'll be in or what might trigger their displeasure. The sixth red flag is lack of empathy for others. Pay attention to how your new partner talks about other people in their life. Do they have compassion for their ex-spouse's struggles during the divorce, or do they paint them as completely unreasonable and vindictive? Do they show concern for their adult children's challenges, or do they dismiss their problems as weakness or stupidity? How do they treat service workers, neighbors, or strangers who make mistakes? Are they patient with your grandchildren when they visit, or do they seem annoyed by normal child behavior? Do they show genuine concern when you're dealing with health issues, or do they make your problems about how they affect them? Narcissists often reserve their charm and consideration for people they need something from. Everyone else is either useful or irrelevant. This lack of empathy will eventually extend to you once they feel secure in the relationship. The seventh red flag is resistance to compromise or negotiation. Healthy relationships require ongoing negotiation as two people blend their lives, preferences, and needs. You might prefer different restaurants, have different sleep schedules, or enjoy different activities. Working out these differences through communication and compromise is part of building a life together. Narcissists, however, often see compromise as losing. They might appear to go along with your preferences initially, but over time, you might notice that most decisions end up being made their way. When you try to discuss this pattern, they might become defensive, accuse you of being selfish, or use manipulation tactics to make you feel guilty for wanting equal input in the relationship. The eighth red flag is stories that don't add up. Narcissists often have complicated histories with multiple versions depending on their audience. You might hear different explanations for why their last relationship ended, varying accounts of their career achievements, or changing stories about their health, finances, or family relationships. Sometimes these inconsistencies are small and easy to overlook. Other times they're more significant but explained away with additional stories. Pay attention to your instincts when something doesn't feel right about the information you're receiving. Trust your memory when you're sure someone told you something different before. The ninth red flag is pressure to make decisions quickly. This might look like pressure to sell your home and move in together, pressure to change your will or beneficiaries, pressure to make major purchases together, or pressure to cut ties with people who express concerns about the relationship. The pressure often comes with artificial deadlines or emotional manipulation. If you don't make this decision now, the opportunity will be lost forever. If you really loved them, you wouldn't need time to think about it. If you don't trust them enough to take this step, maybe you're not right for each other. Healthy relationships allow time for thoughtful decision-making, especially regarding major life changes. Anyone who tries to rush you into significant commitments is either showing poor judgment or deliberately trying to prevent you from thinking clearly about the consequences. The 10th red flag is making you responsible for their emotional well-being. This might start with them sharing how much happier they are since meeting you, how you've given their life new meaning, or how they don't know what they'd do without you. While this might seem romantic, it's actually a form of emotional manipulation that creates pressure for you to maintain their happiness. Over time, this responsibility becomes heavier. Their bad moods become your fault because you said something wrong or didn't do enough to support them. Their problems become emergencies that you need to drop everything to address. Their emotional needs become more important than your own because they're so fragile or damaged. This pattern turns you into a caretaker rather than a partner. Your value in the relationship becomes tied to your ability to manage their emotions, solve their problems, and maintain their good opinion of themselves. Why older women may be particularly vulnerable. Understanding why older women might be particularly targeted by narcissists isn't about assigning blame or suggesting weakness. Instead, it's about recognizing the unique combination of life circumstances, social conditioning, and generational factors that can create vulnerability to manipulation. Let's start with the reality of social isolation that many older adults face. After decades of being needed by children, spouses, parents, and employers, the transition to retirement or empty nest life can feel jarring. The constant demands that once felt overwhelming might now be missed, because they provided structure, purpose, and social interaction. When your days are less filled with obligations to others, the appearance of someone who wants to spend time with you can feel like a gift. The problem is that narcissists are experts at identifying and exploiting loneliness. They position themselves as the solution to isolation, offering constant companionship and attention that can become addictive. This is particularly true for women who define themselves primarily through their relationships with others. If your identity was built around being a wife, mother, daughter, or caregiver, the loss of those active roles can create an identity crisis. A narcissist who makes you feel valued and important can seem like the answer to existential questions about who you are and what your purpose is now. Another factor is the reality of loss that accumulates with age. You might be dealing with the death of a spouse, the loss of close friends, health challenges that limit your activities, or the grief of watching your independence diminish in small ways. These losses can create emotional vulnerability that narcissists are skilled at detecting and exploiting. The desire for companionship after loss is natural and healthy. The problem arises when grief or loneliness clouds your judgment about potential partners. A narcissist who presents themselves as understanding your loss, sharing similar experiences, or offering comfort during difficult times can seem like a blessing rather than a predator. Financial factors also play a role in vulnerability. Many older women have accumulated assets through years of work, saving, and careful financial planning. However, they might not have experience managing these assets independently if they were part of a traditional marriage where financial decisions were primarily made by their spouse. Narcissists often present themselves as knowledgeable about finances, eager to help with money management, or able to provide financial security through their own resources. The offer of help with complex financial decisions can seem generous and supportive, but it's actually a way to gain control over your resources and independence. Additionally, many older women come from generations where divorce was less common and less socially acceptable. This means they might have less experience with dating, relationship negotiation, and recognizing manipulation tactics. The rules of dating and relationships have changed significantly over the decades, and what might have been acceptable behavior in a marriage 50 years ago would be recognized as problematic today. For example, the expectation that women should be accommodating, supportive, and focused on maintaining harmony in relationships was more prevalent in earlier generations. These deeply ingrained patterns can make it difficult to recognize when accommodation has become exploitation or when the desire to maintain harmony is preventing you from addressing serious problems. Generational differences in communication styles can also create vulnerability. Older adults might have learned to address problems indirectly to avoid confrontation or to work around difficult personalities rather than address behaviors directly. Narcissists take advantage of these communication patterns by dismissing indirect feedback, exploiting the desire to avoid conflict, and escalating situations when they are confronted directly. Health concerns can create another layer of vulnerability. If you're dealing with medical issues, mobility challenges, or concerns about your ability to maintain independence, a partner who offers to help with daily activities can seem invaluable. The fear of becoming a burden on adult children or losing independence can make the offer of support from a romantic partner particularly appealing. Narcissists often position themselves as willing and capable caregivers, offering to handle medical appointments, medication management, or daily care tasks. While genuine partners do provide support during health challenges, narcissists use caregiving as a way to establish dependency and control. The isolation that can come with retirement or reduced social circles also limits your access to outside perspectives on your relationships. When your adult children live far away, when you've lost touch with work colleagues, or when health issues limit your social activities, there are fewer people in your life who might notice concerning changes in your behavior or relationship patterns. Narcissists often encourage this isolation by gradually becoming your primary social connection. They might suggest that other people don't understand your relationship, that family members are interfering, or that friends are jealous of your happiness. Over time, their voice becomes the dominant influence in your decision-making because it's the voice you hear most often. Another factor is the desire to be needed and useful after a lifetime of caring for others. Many women derive significant satisfaction and identity from their ability to help, support, and nurture others. When children are grown and independent, when spouses have passed away, or when parents no longer need care, the absence of someone to nurture can feel like a loss of purpose. Narcissists often present themselves as needing care, support, or understanding that only you can provide. They share stories of past hurts, current struggles, or future dreams that position you as the person who can heal, help, or inspire them. This appeals to your nurturing instincts and gives you a sense of being valuable and needed. The problem is that narcissists don't actually want to be healed or to grow. They want the attention, support, and resources that come from being perceived as needy. Your efforts to help will never be enough because the goal isn't actually improvement. It's a continued supply of your time, energy, and care. Technology can also create vulnerability for older adults who might not be as familiar with online dating, social media, or digital communication. Narcissists often use technology to monitor, control, or manipulate their partners. They might insist on access to your email, social media accounts, or phone. They might use technology to track your activities, monitor your communications with others, or control your access to information. If you're not comfortable with technology or don't understand privacy settings, boundaries around digital communication, or warning signs of online manipulation, you might be more vulnerable to these tactics. Financial vulnerability can also increase with age, particularly for women who might have lower retirement savings due to wage gaps, time out of the workforce, for caregiving, or longer lifespans that stretch retirement resources. The promise of financial security from a new partner can be particularly appealing if you're worried about money. Narcissists often promise financial support while actually seeking to access your resources. They might offer to help you invest your money, suggest combining finances for efficiency, or present themselves as wealthy partners who can enhance your lifestyle. These promises rarely materialize, and you might find yourself supporting them rather than receiving the security they promised. Finally, there's the factor of hope and optimism that comes with new relationships. After loss, health challenges, or years of focusing on others, the possibility of a loving, supportive partnership can feel like a second chance at happiness. This hope is beautiful and appropriate, but it can also cloud judgment about red flags or concerning behaviors. The desire for the relationship to work out can lead to rationalization of problems, minimization of concerning behaviors, or acceptance of treatment that you would have recognized as unacceptable earlier in life. Hope becomes vulnerability when it prevents you from protecting yourself from harm. Building your emotional armor. Now that we understand the dynamics of narcissistic abuse and why older women might be particularly vulnerable, let's focus on building your emotional armor. This isn't about becoming cynical or closed off to love. Instead, it's about developing the self-awareness, boundaries, and standards that will help you recognize genuine love and reject manipulation. The first piece of armor is self-knowledge. Before entering any new relationship, spend time reconnecting with who you are as an individual, independent of your roles as wife, mother, daughter, or caregiver. What are your values, interests, goals, and dreams? What makes you happy? What are your non-negotiables in relationships? What have you learned about yourself through previous experiences? This self-knowledge serves as a foundation for recognizing when someone is trying to change you, control you, or convince you to abandon your authentic self. When you know who you are and what you value, it becomes easier to spot manipulation tactics that try to make you doubt your perceptions, minimize your needs, or compromise your standards. Creating a personal mission statement for this phase of your life can be incredibly helpful. This might include statements like, "I choose relationships that enhance rather than diminish my well-being. I will not compromise my financial security for anyone. I deserve partners who treat me with consistent respect and consideration. I will trust my instincts even when others try to convince me I'm wrong." The second piece of armor is emotional independence. This means developing the ability to regulate your own emotions, validate your own experiences, and maintain your sense of worth, independent of external approval. Narcissists target people who look to others for validation because it makes manipulation easier. Emotional independence doesn't mean you don't value input from others or enjoy emotional connection. Instead, it means that your fundamental sense of self-worth isn't dependent on anyone else's opinion or behavior. You can enjoy compliments without needing them for basic self-esteem. You can weather criticism without feeling destroyed. You can be alone without feeling desperate for companionship. Developing emotional independence often involves healing from past relationships, addressing patterns of people-pleasing or codependency, and learning to trust your own judgment. This might involve therapy, support groups, journaling, meditation, or other practices that help you understand and process your emotional patterns. The third piece of armor is maintaining your independent life and relationships. Never allow a romantic partner to become your only source of social interaction, emotional support, or meaningful activity. Cultivate friendships, maintain family relationships, pursue hobbies and interests, and engage in community activities that bring you joy and connection. This serves multiple purposes. First, it provides you with outside perspectives on your relationship. Friends and family members who care about you can often see red flags that you might miss because you're emotionally involved. Second, it maintains your sense of identity and purpose beyond the romantic relationship. Third, it provides you with a support system if you need to leave an unhealthy relationship. Narcissists often try to isolate their partners by creating conflict with friends and family members, monopolizing time and attention, or making demands that prevent outside relationships. When you maintain strong boundaries around your independence, you make it much harder for someone to control or manipulate you. The fourth piece of armor is financial independence and protection. Never give anyone access to your financial accounts, credit cards, or important financial documents early in a relationship. Be cautious about anyone who wants to help you manage your money, offers to invest your funds, or needs temporary financial assistance. Maintain separate bank accounts and credit cards even if you eventually decide to share some financial responsibilities. Know your net worth, understand your income sources, and have a clear picture of your financial situation. If you need help with financial planning or investment decisions, work with licensed professionals rather than relying on advice from romantic partners. Be particularly careful about making major financial decisions like selling your home, changing beneficiaries, or making large purchases with someone you haven't known for very long. These decisions should never be rushed or made under pressure, regardless of how much you trust someone. The fifth piece of armor is trusting your instincts. Your intuition is incredibly sophisticated and often picks up on inconsistencies, manipulation tactics, or dangerous behaviors before your rational mind processes what's happening. If something feels off about a person or situation, pay attention to that feeling, even if you can't articulate exactly what's wrong. Common phrases that dismiss your instincts include, "You're being too sensitive," "You're overthinking this," "You're letting your past experiences cloud your judgment," or "You're looking for problems where none exist." Anyone who tries to convince you to ignore your instincts is not acting in your best interest. Trusting your instincts doesn't mean acting on every fleeting feeling or becoming paranoid about everyone's motives. Instead, it means paying attention when your body or emotions are sending you warning signals and taking time to investigate those feelings rather than dismissing them. The sixth piece of armor is setting and maintaining boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that keep everyone out. Instead, they're gates that allow you to control what you let into your life and what you keep out. Healthy boundaries protect your time, energy, emotions, resources, and well-being. Examples of healthy boundaries include not answering phone calls or texts at all hours, not allowing anyone to speak to you disrespectfully, not lending money without clear repayment terms, not changing your plans to accommodate someone else's demands, and not discussing personal information with people you don't know well. Boundary violations are often early warning signs of controlling or manipulative behavior. Pay attention to how people respond when you set reasonable limits. Do they respect your boundaries and apologize if they accidentally cross them? Or do they argue, minimize your concerns, test your limits, or try to make you feel guilty for having standards? The seventh piece of armor is developing a support network of people who have your best interests at heart. This might include adult, children, close friends, siblings, or other family members who know you well and care about your well-being. It might also include professional supporters like therapists, financial advisors, attorneys, or medical providers. Let the people in your support network know when you're considering a serious relationship. Introduce them to potential partners early enough in the relationship that they can offer feedback while you're still able to hear it objectively. Be open to concerns that people raise, even if they're difficult to hear. Remember that people who care about you want you to be happy, but they also want you to be safe. If multiple people in your support network express concerns about someone you're dating, take their feedback seriously, even if you don't agree with it initially. The eighth piece of armor is education about manipulation tactics and narcissistic behavior. Knowledge is power when it comes to protecting yourself from predators. Learn about love bombing, gaslighting, triangulation, projection, and other manipulation tactics so you can recognize them when they're happening to you. Understanding these tactics intellectually makes it easier to spot them in action and harder for someone to convince you that you're imagining problems or being too sensitive. When you know that gaslighting is a deliberate tactic used to make you doubt your reality, you're less likely to question your own perceptions when someone tries to use it on you. The ninth piece of armor is practicing self-care and stress management. Manipulation and emotional abuse are stressful experiences that can affect your physical and mental health. When you're stressed, overwhelmed, or exhausted, you're more vulnerable to manipulation because you have less emotional and mental energy available to evaluate situations clearly. Prioritize activities that help you manage stress, maintain your physical health, and support your emotional well-being. This might include exercise, meditation, therapy, hobbies, social activities, or spiritual practices. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's essential for maintaining the mental clarity and emotional strength needed to make good relationship decisions. The 10th piece of armor is having a safety plan. Even if you don't think you'll ever need it, having a plan for how to exit a relationship quickly and safely gives you options if you find yourself in a dangerous or harmful situation. Your safety plan might include keeping important documents in a safe place that your partner doesn't have access to, maintaining relationships with people who could provide support if needed, having emergency funds available, and knowing who to contact for help if you need to leave quickly. This isn't about being paranoid or expecting the worst. It's about being prepared and maintaining your options for independence and safety, regardless of how a relationship develops. Recognizing love bombing versus genuine interest. One of the most important skills you can develop is the ability to distinguish between genuine romantic interest and the manipulation tactic known as love bombing. Both can feel wonderful initially, but understanding the differences can save you from months or years of abuse. Love bombing is an intense campaign of attention, affection, and apparent devotion designed to overwhelm your emotional defenses and create rapid attachment. It's called love bombing because it feels like being bombed with love and attention. The intensity and speed are designed to sweep you off your feet and make you feel like you've found your soulmate. Genuine romantic interest, on the other hand, develops more gradually as two people get to know each other's authentic selves. It's based on real compatibility, shared values, and growing appreciation for each other's character and personality. The first difference is in timing and intensity. Love bombing typically begins immediately and intensely. You might receive multiple texts or calls per day from someone you've just met, elaborate declarations of feelings, expensive gifts, or grand romantic gestures before you've had time to develop genuine intimacy. Genuine interest builds over time. Someone who is genuinely interested in you will want to get to know you gradually, respecting your pace and boundaries, while sharing themselves authentically as trust develops. The second difference is in the focus of attention. Love bombing often focuses on idealized or surface-level qualities. You might be told that you're the most beautiful woman they've ever seen, the most intelligent person they've met, or the perfect partner they've been searching for their entire life. These compliments feel amazing, but they're not based on deep knowledge of who you are as a person. Genuine interest focuses on specific, real qualities that someone has observed about you over time. Instead of generic superlatives, You'll receive appreciation for your sense of humor in specific situations, your thoughtfulness toward others, your resilience in handling challenges, or your insights about topics you've discussed together. The third difference is in consistency. Love bombing is often inconsistent because it's a performance rather than authentic emotion. You might experience periods of intense attention followed by periods of withdrawal or distraction. The person might seem completely focused on you one day and distant or preoccupied the next. Genuine interest is more consistent because it's based on real feelings and character. Someone who is genuinely interested in you will show steady, reliable care and attention that doesn't fluctuate wildly based on their mood or circumstances. The fourth difference is in respect for boundaries. Love bombers often push against boundaries or ignore them entirely. They might show up unannounced, continue calling or texting when you've indicated you're busy, or pressure you to spend more time together than you're comfortable with. Someone with genuine interest will respect your boundaries and appreciate that you have them. They'll understand that healthy relationships require both connection and independence, and they won't try to rush physical intimacy, emotional vulnerability, or time commitments. The fifth difference is in the response to your authentic self. Love bombers are often more interested in your response to their attention than in your actual personality, opinions, or experiences. They might not remember details you've shared about yourself, or they might dismiss or minimize aspects of your personality that don't fit their ideal. Someone with genuine interest will be curious about your real thoughts, feelings, and experiences. They'll remember things you've told them, ask follow-up questions, and show appreciation for your authentic self, rather than trying to shape you into someone else. The sixth difference is in the treatment of others. Pay attention to how your new romantic interest treats other people, especially those who can't do anything for them. Love bombers often reserve their charm exclusively for their target, showing indifference or contempt for service workers, family members, or friends. Someone with genuine character will treat others with basic respect and consideration. They might not be equally charming to everyone, but they won't be cruel, dismissive, or rude to people who aren't useful to them. The seventh difference is in the integration with your life. Love bombers often want to replace your existing life, rather than integrate with it. They might express subtle or overt criticism of your friends, family, activities, or interests, suggesting that they can provide everything you need. Someone with genuine interest will want to understand and appreciate the people and activities that are important to you. They'll make an effort to get along with your loved ones and show interest in your hobbies and commitments, even if they don't share all your interests. The eighth difference is in future planning. Love bombers often make grand plans for the future very early in the relationship. They might talk about moving in together, traveling together, or making major life changes together before you've had time to really get to know each other. Genuine interest includes more realistic and gradual future planning. Someone who truly cares about you will want to make sure that major decisions are made thoughtfully and that both people are truly ready for significant commitments. The ninth difference is in emotional regulation. Love bombers often have poor emotional regulation, swinging between extreme highs and lows. Their mood might depend entirely on your response to their attention, and they might become angry, depressed, or withdrawn if you don't reciprocate their intensity. Someone with genuine interest will have more stable emotional regulation. While they'll naturally be happier when the relationship is going well, their overall emotional well-being won't depend entirely on your attention and approval. The 10th difference is in the aftermath. Love bombing is typically followed by a period of devaluation once the narcissist feels confident that you're attached to them. The intense attention and affection will gradually decrease and might be replaced by criticism, withdrawal, or demands. Genuine interest leads to the development of a stable, consistent relationship where both people continue to treat each other with care and respect over time. The intensity might settle into something more sustainable, but the underlying care and appreciation continue to grow. So how can you protect yourself from love bombing while remaining open to genuine romantic connection? First, be suspicious of anyone who seems too good to be true or who declares strong feelings very early in the relationship. Trust your instincts if something feels rushed or overwhelming. Second, maintain your boundaries and normal pace of relationship development regardless of pressure from the other person. Don't let anyone convince you to move faster than feels comfortable just because they're impatient or claim to be certain about their feelings. Third, pay attention to how they treat other people and how they talk about their past relationships. If everyone in their past was crazy, unreasonable, or unappreciative, that's a red flag. If they're rude to service workers or dismissive of your loved ones, that's a warning sign. Fourth, maintain your outside relationships and activities regardless of how much time your new partner wants to spend together. Anyone who truly cares about you will want you to maintain the relationships and activities that bring you joy. Fifth, take time to process your feelings and experiences away from the other person. Love bombing can be so intense that it's hard to think clearly while you're experiencing it. Regular time alone or with trusted friends can help you maintain perspective. Remember that genuine love develops gradually and is based on really knowing each other. Anyone who claims to love you before they've seen you handle stress, witnessed your daily routines, or navigated any real challenges with you is in love with a fantasy, not with you. The importance of maintaining independence. Maintaining your independence while building a romantic relationship might seem contradictory, especially if you're coming from a generation where marriage was often seen as merging two lives completely. However, independence is actually crucial for healthy relationships at any age, and it's particularly important as protection against narcissistic abuse. Independence doesn't mean isolation or refusal to be vulnerable with a partner. Instead, it means maintaining your sense of self, your personal resources, your relationships with others, and your ability to make choices about your own life. Independence allows you to be in a relationship by choice rather than by necessity, which fundamentally changes the power dynamic. Financial independence is often the most practical form of independence, and it's frequently the first thing narcissists try to undermine. Maintaining control over your own financial resources gives you options and protects you from economic abuse. This means keeping your own bank accounts, credit cards, and financial documents secure, even if you eventually decide to share some financial responsibilities with a partner. Be particularly cautious about anyone who wants to help you manage your money, especially early in a relationship. While genuine partners might eventually share financial planning and decision-making, premature involvement in your finances is a red flag. Legitimate financial advisors are licensed professionals who don't date their clients. If you need help with financial planning, investment decisions, or understanding your retirement benefits, work with qualified professionals rather than relying on advice from romantic partners. Keep your financial information private until you're confident that someone has earned the right to be involved in those decisions. Emotional independence is equally important. This means being able to regulate your own emotions, validate your own experiences, and maintain your sense of self-worth without constant approval from others. Narcissists target people who look to others for validation because it makes manipulation easier. Emotional independence doesn't mean you don't value emotional connection or support from partners. Instead, it means that your basic sense of worth and well-being doesn't depend entirely on someone else's behavior or opinion. You can weather criticism without feeling destroyed, enjoy compliments without needing them for basic self-esteem, and be alone without feeling desperate for companionship. Developing emotional independence often involves healing from past relationships, addressing patterns of people-pleasing or codependency, and learning to trust your own judgment. This work is valuable regardless of your relationship status because it improves your overall quality of life and your ability to make good decisions. Social independence means maintaining relationships and activities outside of your romantic partnership. Never allow a romantic partner to become your only source of social interaction, emotional support, or meaningful activity. Cultivate friendships, maintain family relationships, pursue hobbies and interests, and engage in community activities that bring you joy and connection. This serves multiple purposes. First, it provides you with outside perspectives on your relationship. Friends and family members who care about you can often see red flags that you might miss because you're emotionally involved. Second, it maintains your sense of identity and purpose beyond the romantic relationship. Third, it provides you with a support system if you need help or if the relationship ends. Narcissists often try to isolate their partners by creating conflict with friends and family members, monopolizing time and attention, or making demands that prevent outside relationships. When you maintain strong boundaries around your independence, you make it much harder for someone to control or manipulate you. Physical independence means maintaining your own living space, at least initially, and being cautious about making major changes to your living situation quickly. If you own your home, be very careful about decisions to sell it, add someone to the deed, or significantly modify it to accommodate someone else's preferences. Moving in together is a significant step that should be considered carefully and slowly, regardless of how much you care about someone. Living together creates practical and legal entanglements that can make it difficult to leave if problems develop. It also provides increased opportunities for control, monitoring, and manipulation. If you do decide to live with someone, maintain some independent space within the shared living arrangement. This might mean keeping a private room, office, or area where you can spend time alone and keep personal belongings. It also means maintaining the right to make decisions about your own schedule, activities, and privacy. Intellectual independence means trusting your own judgment, maintaining your own opinions, and resisting pressure to adopt someone else's worldview completely. Healthy relationships involve sharing ideas and influencing each other's thinking, but they don't require abandoning your own critical thinking skills or intellectual autonomy. Be cautious of partners who dismiss your opinions, mock your interests, or consistently try to convince you that your perspective is wrong. While disagreement is normal and healthy in relationships, a pattern of intellectual domination is a red flag. Spiritual independence, if spirituality is important to you, means maintaining your own relationship with your faith, spiritual practices, or philosophical beliefs. While couples might share spiritual interests or attend religious services together, your personal spiritual life should remain under your own control. Be wary of partners who try to change your religious beliefs, criticize your spiritual practices, or use spirituality as a way to control your behavior. This includes both partners who mock your beliefs and those who claim superior spiritual insight that you should follow. Decision-making independence means retaining the right to make choices about your own life, even when those choices affect your relationship. While healthy relationships involve consultation and consideration of your partner's feelings, you should never feel that you need permission to make decisions about your career, health, friendships, family relationships, or personal activities. Pay attention to how potential partners respond when you make independent decisions. Do they respect your right to choose even if they're disappointed by your choice? Or do they become angry, manipulative, or punitive when you make decisions they don't like? Maintaining independence requires ongoing attention and effort, especially in the early stages of romantic relationships when you're naturally inclined to accommodate and please someone you care about. It's helpful to have trusted friends or family members who can remind you of your standards and point out when you might be compromising your independence in unhealthy ways. Remember that anyone who truly loves you will want you to maintain your independence and personal strength. They'll appreciate your autonomy and see it as making you a more interesting and capable partner. Anyone who tries to undermine your independence is acting in their own interest, not in yours. Independence also means being willing to be alone, rather than accepting treatment that diminishes your well-being. This is perhaps the most important aspect of independence because it gives you the power to leave relationships that aren't serving you. When you're comfortable being alone and confident in your ability to take care of yourself, you can't be controlled through fear of abandonment. This doesn't mean you should isolate yourself or avoid emotional connection. Instead, it means that you enter relationships from a position of strength and choice rather than desperation or need. This fundamentally changes the power dynamic and makes you much less vulnerable to manipulation and abuse. Creating a support network. Having a strong support network is one of your most powerful protections against narcissistic abuse. Isolation is a key goal of narcissistic abusers because it makes their victims more dependent on them for validation, support, and reality checking. When you maintain strong connections with people who care about your well-being, you make it much harder for someone to manipulate or control you. A healthy support network includes different types of relationships that serve various purposes in your life. This diversity is important because it prevents any one person from having too much influence over your decisions and provides multiple perspectives on your relationships and life choices. Family relationships, particularly with adult children and siblings, often form the core of support networks for older women. However, family relationships can be complicated, and not everyone has family members who are available, supportive, or capable of providing helpful perspective. If your family relationships are strong, nurture them and be open to their feedback about your romantic relationships, even when it's difficult to hear. If your family relationships are strained or unavailable, remember that chosen family can be just as valuable as biological family. Close friends, neighbors, or community members who have known you for years can provide the long-term perspective and consistent care that family members might otherwise offer. Friendships are crucial components of support networks, but they require ongoing attention and investment to maintain. Many women find that their friendships suffer during busy periods of child rearing, career building, or caring for aging parents. Retirement and empty nest years provide opportunities to rebuild and deepen friendships that might have been neglected. Look for friends who share your interests, values, and life stage. This might include book clubs, exercise groups, hobby clubs, volunteer organizations, or religious communities. Friendships that develop around shared activities often become deeper over time as you get to know each other in different contexts. Be wary of anyone who discourages your friendships or makes it difficult for you to maintain social connections. Comments like, "Your friends don't understand you like I do," "You don't need them when you have me," or "They're just jealous of your happiness," are red flags that someone is trying to isolate you from your support system. Professional supporters also play important roles in healthy support networks. This might include your physician, therapist, attorney, financial advisor, or spiritual counselor. These relationships are different from personal relationships because they're specifically designed to provide expertise and support in particular areas of your life. Don't underestimate the value of professional supporters when evaluating romantic relationships. A good therapist can help you identify patterns in your relationships and develop better boundaries. A financial advisor can help you protect your assets and make sound financial decisions. An attorney can help you understand the legal implications of major relationship decisions. Community connections provide another layer of support that's particularly valuable for older adults. This might include neighbors, members of religious communities, volunteer organizations, or interest-based groups. Community connections often provide practical support, social interaction, and a sense of belonging that's independent of family and romantic relationships. Many communities have specific resources for older adults, including senior centers, educational programs, social clubs, and support groups. These resources can help you meet people with similar interests and life experiences while providing access to information and services that support independent living. Intergenerational connections can add richness and perspective to your support network. This might include mentoring relationships with younger people, grandparent relationships, or friendships that cross age lines. Younger people can provide different perspectives on current events, technology, and social changes, while you might offer wisdom and experience that they value. Online communities can supplement in-person support networks, particularly if mobility issues or geographic distance make face-to-face connections challenging. However, be cautious about replacing in-person relationships entirely with online connections, and be aware that online relationships can be easier for predators to manipulate. Building and maintaining a support network requires intentional effort, especially if you're naturally introverted or have lost social confidence during periods of isolation. Start slowly with low-pressure activities that interest you. Volunteer. Work often provides excellent opportunities to meet caring people while contributing to causes you believe in. Regular social activities provide structure and consistency to your social connections. This might include weekly coffee dates with friends, monthly dinner parties, participation in book clubs or hobby groups, or regular attendance at religious services or community events. Be patient with yourself as you build new relationships or rebuild neglected ones. Social skills can become rusty during periods of isolation, and it takes time to develop trust and intimacy with new people. Focus on being genuinely interested in others rather than trying to impress them or be perfect. When you're developing romantic relationships, introduce potential partners to your support network relatively early in the relationship. Pay attention to how they interact with your friends and family members, and be open to feedback from people who care about you, even if it's not what you want to hear. Support network members should feel comfortable expressing concerns about your relationships if they observe red flags or concerning changes in your behavior. Let the people who care about you know that you value their perspective and that they won't lose your friendship if they need to share difficult truths. Remember that support networks are reciprocal. You need to provide support to others as well as receive it. This reciprocity creates stronger bonds and ensures that your relationships remain balanced and healthy. Look for opportunities to help friends and family members, offer your own experience and wisdom, and be present during their difficult times. Be cautious about anyone who tries to drive wedges between you and your support network members. This might look like causing conflict at family gatherings, being rude to your friends, scheduling competing activities during times you usually spend with others, or gradually convincing you that other people in your life are negative influences. Trust your support network's collective wisdom, especially when multiple people express similar concerns about someone you're dating. People who care about you want you to be happy, but they also want you to be safe. If your support network is consistently expressing concerns about a romantic partner, take their feedback seriously even if you don't initially agree. Document concerns that support network members raise about your romantic relationships. Sometimes patterns become clearer when you can look back at multiple conversations and see consistent themes in the feedback you've received. Finally, remember that your support network should enhance your life and provide you with multiple sources of care, perspective, and assistance. If your romantic relationship requires you to abandon or minimize your other relationships, that's a red flag that something is wrong with the romantic relationship, not with your other connections. A healthy romantic partner will appreciate your support network and understand that these relationships make you a stronger, happier person. They might not become best friends with everyone in your life, but they'll respect the importance of these relationships and support your continued investment in them. Red flags in online dating. Online dating has become increasingly common among older adults, but it also presents unique opportunities for narcissists and other predators to target vulnerable individuals. Understanding the specific red flags of online dating can help you navigate these platforms more safely while remaining open to genuine connection. The first red flag is profiles that seem too good to be true. If someone's photos look professional or model-like, if their interests perfectly match everything you're looking for in a partner, or if their life story reads like a romance novel, be cautious. Narcissists often create idealized online personas designed to attract as many potential victims as possible. Look for profiles that seem authentic and realistic, rather than perfect. Real people have imperfections, varied interests, and normal-looking photos that show them in everyday situations. Be suspicious of profiles with only professional quality photos or pictures that look like they might be stock photos. The second red flag is immediate intense interest and rapid escalation of the relationship. If someone wants to move from the dating platform to personal phone numbers or email addresses immediately, wants to meet in person right away, or begins expressing strong feelings within the first few conversations, proceed with caution. Genuine connections develop gradually, even online. Someone who is truly interested in getting to know you will be patient with the natural pace of relationship building and won't pressure you to move faster than you're comfortable with. The third red flag is reluctance to talk on the phone or meet via video chat before meeting in person. While not everyone is comfortable with video calls, someone who consistently avoids phone or video conversations might be hiding something about their appearance, location, or identity. Insist on phone or video conversations before meeting anyone in person. This helps verify that they are who they claim to be and gives you a better sense of their communication style and personality. Be suspicious of anyone who has elaborate excuses for why they can't talk on the phone or appear on video. The fourth red flag is asking for personal information too quickly. This includes requests for your full name, address, workplace, financial information, or other details that could be used for identity theft or stalking. Legitimate romantic interests will respect your privacy and understand why you might want to keep certain information private until trust develops. Be particularly cautious about anyone who asks about your financial situation, retirement benefits, home ownership, or other asset-related topics early in your conversations. While financial compatibility is a legitimate concern in serious relationships, premature interest in your financial resources is a warning sign. The fifth red flag is inconsistencies in their stories or information. Pay attention to details they share about their background, career, family, or life experiences. If you notice contradictions between different conversations, or if their stories seem to change over time, this could indicate deception. Take screenshots or notes of important information they share so you can refer back to it if needed. Trust your memory if you're sure someone told you something different previously, and don't let them convince you that you misunderstood or misremembered. The sixth red flag is pressure to send money or provide financial assistance. This is a classic sign of romance scams, but it can be presented in sophisticated ways that make it seem legitimate. The story might be a temporary business problem, unexpected medical bills, travel expenses to come visit you, or help with an emergency situation. Never send money, gift cards, or financial assistance to anyone you've met online, regardless of how compelling their story is or how long you've been communicating. Legitimate romantic interests will not ask you for financial help, especially early in the relationship. The seventh red flag is reluctance to meet in public places or insistence on meeting at your home. Safe online dating practices always involve meeting in public places where other people are present. Anyone who wants to meet at your home insists on privacy for first meetings or becomes angry when you suggest public meeting places is not prioritizing your safety. Trust your instincts about meeting locations and don't let anyone pressure you into situations that feel unsafe. A genuine romantic interest will understand and appreciate your caution about meeting safely. The eighth red flag is photos that don't match their claimed age, lifestyle, or location. If someone claims to be 70 but all their photos look like they were taken 20 years ago, if they claim to live locally but their photos show exotic locations, or if their lifestyle in photos doesn't match their claimed financial situation, be suspicious. Ask for recent, candid photos that show them clearly. Be wary of anyone who only provides glamorous or professional photos, or who becomes defensive when you ask for more casual pictures. The ninth red flag is immediate declarations of love or destiny. If someone is telling you they love you, that you're their soulmate, or that they've never felt this way about anyone before you've met in person, they're either emotionally unstable or attempting to manipulate you. Love requires knowing someone's authentic self, which isn't possible through online communication alone. Anyone who claims to love you based solely on online interactions is in love with a fantasy, not with you. The 10th red flag is attempts to isolate you from friends and family or discourage you from talking about your online dating experiences. A healthy romantic interest will understand that your friends and family care about your safety and will want to meet them eventually. Be suspicious of anyone who asks you not to tell others about your relationship, who becomes jealous of your other relationships, or who tries to convince you that other people don't understand your connection. To protect yourself while online dating, use reputable dating platforms that verify user identities and have safety features like blocking and reporting mechanisms. Read the safety guidelines provided by the platform and follow them consistently. Keep your initial conversations on the dating platform rather than immediately moving to personal email or phone numbers. This provides some protection and allows you to block or report problematic users more easily. Never include personal information like your full name, address, workplace, or financial details in your dating profile. Use a separate email address for online dating that's not connected to your other accounts. Take your time getting to know someone before meeting in person. There's no rush, and anyone who pressures you to meet quickly or gets angry about your cautious pace is not respecting your boundaries. When you do decide to meet someone, always meet in a public place during daylight hours. Tell a friend or family member where you're going, who you're meeting, and when you expect to return. Consider having them call or text you during the date to check in. Don't provide transportation for your date or accept rides from them for first meetings. Drive yourself or use a rideshare service so you have control over your transportation. Trust your instincts throughout the process. If something feels wrong about someone's communication style, their stories, or their behavior, listen to those feelings even if you can't articulate exactly what's bothering you. Remember that legitimate romantic interests will respect your caution and safety measures. Anyone who becomes angry, pushy, or dismissive about your safety concerns is not someone you want to pursue a relationship with. Online dating can be a valuable tool for meeting compatible partners, but it requires the same caution and boundary setting as any other form of dating. Don't let the convenience of online communication make you less careful about protecting yourself from predators and manipulators. Protecting your finances, financial abuse, is one of the most common and devastating forms of abuse experienced by older women in relationships with narcissists. Your financial independence and security represent decades of work, planning, and sacrifice. Protecting these resources is crucial not only for your current well-being, but also for your future security and your ability to leave unhealthy relationships if necessary. Narcissists often target older women specifically because they assume these women have accumulated assets through years of work, saving, home ownership, and careful financial planning. They also assume that older women might be less experienced with managing finances independently, particularly if they were in traditional marriages where financial decisions were primarily handled by their spouses. The first principle of financial protection is maintaining control over your own accounts and resources. This means keeping your bank accounts, credit cards, investment accounts, and financial documents in your name alone, with passwords and access information that only you know. Never give anyone access to your financial accounts, regardless of how much you trust them or how convenient it might seem. If you eventually decide to share financial responsibilities with a long-term partner, do so gradually and with appropriate legal protections in place. This might involve prenuptial agreements, separate property agreements, or other legal documents that protect your individual assets while allowing for shared expenses and planning. Be extremely cautious about anyone who wants to help you manage your money, offers investment advice, or suggests combining your financial resources early in a relationship. While genuine partners might eventually participate in financial planning, premature involvement in your finances is a major red flag. If you need help with financial planning, investment decisions, or understanding your retirement benefits, work with licensed, credentialed professionals rather than relying on advice from romantic partners. Financial advisors, accountants, and estate planning attorneys are required to act in your best interest and are regulated by professional organizations. The second principle is protecting your access to information about your own finances. Make sure you understand your income sources, know the balances in your accounts, and have direct relationships with your financial institutions. Don't allow anyone to become the primary contact for your accounts or to handle your financial correspondence. If you've been relying on adult children or other family members to help with financial management, maintain your own direct access and understanding of your financial situation. While family assistance can be valuable, you should never be completely dependent on others for information about your own resources. The third principle is being cautious about major financial decisions and changes. This includes decisions like selling your home, changing beneficiaries on accounts or insurance policies, making large purchases, or lending significant amounts of money. These decisions should never be made quickly or under pressure, regardless of how compelling the reasons might seem. Take time to think through major financial decisions, consult with professional advisors if needed, and discuss significant changes with trusted family members or friends who can provide objective perspective. Be suspicious of anyone who tries to rush financial decisions or who becomes angry when you want to take time to consider your options. The fourth principle is recognizing and avoiding financial manipulation tactics. These might include sob stories about temporary financial difficulties, offers to invest your money for higher returns, suggestions that combining resources would be more efficient, or pressure to make financial gifts or loans. Common manipulation tactics include claiming that their money is temporarily tied up, but they need help with expenses, offering to help you get better investment returns through their connections or expertise, suggesting that you should add them to your accounts for convenience or safety, or pressuring you to change your will or beneficiaries as a sign of commitment. Be particularly wary of anyone who claims to have significant wealth but consistently needs your financial help. This might be presented as temporary cash flow problems, business investments that are temporarily inaccessible, or bureaucratic delays with inheritances or other financial windfalls. The fifth principle is maintaining your own credit and financial identity. Keep credit cards in your name, maintain your own credit history, and monitor your credit reports regularly for any unauthorized activity. Don't co-sign loans or credit applications for romantic partners, and don't allow anyone to use your credit or financial identity for their benefit. If someone asks you to co-sign for credit, add them to your existing accounts, or use your name for financial transactions, be extremely cautious. These requests are often signs of financial manipulation, and they can leave you responsible for debts or obligations that you didn't create. The sixth principle is being aware of estate planning implications of new relationships. If you're considering marriage or domestic partnership, understand how these decisions might affect your estate planning, your beneficiaries, and your financial obligations. Consult with an estate planning attorney before making major relationship commitments, especially if you have significant assets or complex family situations. Be cautious about anyone who shows excessive interest in your estate planning, asks about your will or beneficiaries, or suggests that you should change these documents as a sign of commitment to the relationship. Legitimate partners will understand that estate planning decisions should be made thoughtfully and with appropriate legal guidance. The seventh principle is recognizing the warning signs of financial abuse. These might include someone trying to control your access to your own money, monitoring your spending, preventing you from working or accessing your own income, or using your financial resources without permission. Financial abuse can also look like sabotaging your financial independence by destroying your credit, hiding financial information from you, or making financial decisions that affect you without your input. If someone is making you feel guilty about spending your own money, questioning your financial decisions, or trying to convince you that you're not capable of managing your own finances, these are red flags. The eighth principle is having emergency financial resources that are completely under your control. This might include a bank account that no one else knows about, cash reserves that you can access quickly, or credit cards that are in your name alone. These emergency resources ensure that you have options if you need to leave a relationship quickly, or if someone tries to cut off your access to your usual financial resources. Don't feel guilty about maintaining financial privacy and independence. Your financial security represents your freedom and your ability to make choices about your own life. Anyone who tries to convince you that financial privacy means you don't trust them or that financial independence is selfish is not acting in your best interest. The ninth principle is being cautious about shared financial obligations and purchases. This includes buying property together, opening joint credit accounts, or making major purchases that create shared debt. These financial entanglements can make it difficult and expensive to leave relationships if problems develop. If you decide to make major purchases with a partner, make sure you understand the legal and financial implications, have appropriate legal agreements in place, and can afford the obligations independently if the relationship ends. The 10th principle is educating yourself about financial matters so you can make informed decisions and recognize when someone is giving you bad advice or trying to manipulate you financially. This might involve taking classes about financial planning, reading reputable financial publications, or working with professional advisors to improve your financial literacy. The more you understand about finances, investing, and financial planning, the harder it becomes for anyone to take advantage of your lack of knowledge or experience. Financial education is one of your best protections against financial manipulation and abuse. Remember that anyone who truly cares about you will want you to maintain your financial independence and security. They'll support your efforts to make good financial decisions, respect your need for financial privacy while you're getting to know each other, and understand that your financial caution is wisdom, not mistrust. If someone becomes angry, pushy, or manipulative when you maintain financial boundaries, this is a clear sign that they're more interested in your money than in your well-being. Protecting your financial independence isn't just about money, it's about protecting your ability to make choices about your own life. When to walk away. Knowing when to end a relationship is one of the most important skills you can develop. But it's often one of the most difficult decisions to make, especially when you've invested time, emotion, and hope in someone. The ability to walk away from relationships that aren't serving your well-being is crucial for protecting yourself from narcissistic abuse and finding genuine happiness. The first situation that requires walking away is when someone violates your fundamental boundaries repeatedly after you've communicated them clearly. This might include continuing to contact you when you've asked for space, showing up at your home uninvited, accessing your personal information without permission, or engaging in any behavior that makes you feel unsafe or disrespected. Everyone makes mistakes and occasionally crosses boundaries unintentionally. The key difference is in the response when you address the violation. Someone with good intentions will apologize, take responsibility, and make changes to ensure it doesn't happen again. Someone who argues, minimizes your concerns, blames you for being too sensitive, or continues the behavior is showing you that your boundaries don't matter to them. The second situation is when you find yourself consistently making excuses for someone's behavior or feeling like you need to explain or justify their treatment of you to others. If you're frequently saying things like, "He didn't mean it that way," "She's just going through a difficult time," or "you don't understand the situation." Pay attention to this pattern. When someone's behavior is consistently problematic enough that you feel the need to defend or explain it, this is often a sign that your instincts are telling you something is wrong, even if you're not ready to acknowledge it consciously. The third situation is when you notice significant changes in your own behavior, mood, or well-being that correlate with the relationship. This might include increased anxiety, depression, or stress levels, changes in your sleep or eating patterns, loss of interest in activities you previously enjoyed, or withdrawal from friends and family members. Pay attention if people who care about you comment that you seem different, less happy, or more stressed since beginning the relationship. Sometimes others can see changes in us that we haven't recognized ourselves. The fourth situation is when someone tries to isolate you from your support system or creates conflict between you and the people who care about you. This might look like subtle criticisms of your friends and family, scheduling competing activities when you're supposed to spend time with others, or creating drama or conflict when you're around your loved ones. Healthy relationships enhance your connections with others rather than replacing or undermining them. Anyone who tries to come between you and your support system is acting in their own interest, not in yours. The fifth situation is when you feel like you're walking on eggshells around someone, constantly monitoring your behavior to avoid triggering their anger, disappointment, or withdrawal. If you find yourself censoring your thoughts, suppressing your opinions, or changing your natural behavior to maintain peace in the relationship, this is a sign of an unhealthy dynamic. Healthy relationships allow both people to be authentic without fear of punishment or retaliation. You should be able to express your thoughts, feelings, and opinions without worrying about explosive reactions or emotional manipulation. The sixth situation is when someone shows a pattern of dishonesty, even about seemingly small matters. This might include lying about their whereabouts, their past experiences, their financial situation, or their feelings about the relationship. While everyone occasionally tells white lies or omits information, a pattern of deception is a serious red flag. Trust is fundamental to healthy relationships, and it's nearly impossible to rebuild once it's been repeatedly violated. If you find yourself fact-checking someone's stories, feeling suspicious about their explanations, or catching them in lies regularly, the relationship is built on an unstable foundation. The seventh situation is when someone uses emotional manipulation, tactics like guilt, shame, threats, or emotional blackmail to control your behavior. This might sound like, "If you really loved me, you would," "You're being selfish by not," or "I don't know what I'll do if you leave me." Healthy relationships involve negotiation and compromise, but they don't involve emotional coercion. Anyone who tries to manipulate your emotions to get what they want is not respecting your autonomy or your right to make your own choices. The eighth situation is when you feel afraid of someone's anger, reactions, or potential retaliation if you disagree with them or don't comply with their wishes. Fear has no place in healthy romantic relationships. You should never be afraid of your partner's response to normal relationship discussions, disagreements, or boundary setting. If you find yourself avoiding certain topics, suppressing your needs, or staying in the relationship because you're afraid of what might happen if you try to leave, you're in an abusive situation that requires immediate attention and possibly professional help. The ninth situation is when someone refuses to take responsibility for their behavior and consistently blames others for their problems, emotions, or circumstances. This might include blaming their ex-partners for all their relationship problems, blaming their employers or co-workers for their career difficulties, or blaming you for their emotional reactions. People who can't take responsibility for their own behavior and emotions are not capable of healthy relationships because they can't learn from their mistakes or make meaningful changes to improve the relationship dynamic. The 10th situation is when your intuition consistently tells you that something is wrong even if you can't articulate exactly what it is. Your subconscious mind processes far more information than your conscious mind and often recognizes dangerous or problematic patterns before you can logically explain them. If you have a persistent feeling that something isn't right about someone or the relationship, trust that feeling even if others tell you you're being too sensitive or paranoid. Your intuition is a sophisticated warning system that has evolved to protect you from harm. Walking away from relationships is particularly challenging when you've invested significant time and emotion, when you're hoping things will improve, or when you're afraid of being alone. However, staying in unhealthy relationships prevents you from finding genuine happiness and can cause significant damage to your emotional and physical well-being. Remember that walking away doesn't necessarily mean you failed or that you didn't try hard enough. Sometimes walking away is the healthiest, most self-respectful choice you can make. It takes strength and courage to end relationships that aren't serving you, especially when you care about the other person. When deciding whether to walk away, consider what advice you would give to a daughter, sister, or best friend in the same situation. Often we can see clearly when someone else is being mistreated, even when we have difficulty recognizing our own situations objectively. If you decide to end a relationship, prioritize your safety throughout the process. Some people become more dangerous or manipulative when they realize they're losing control over someone. Have a safety plan in place, let trusted friends or family members know about your decision, and consider seeking professional help if you're concerned about potential retaliation. Finally, remember that ending unhealthy relationships creates space in your life for better opportunities and healthier connections. Walking away isn't giving up on love. It's refusing to accept treatment that falls short of what you deserve. Building healthy relationships. After abuse, recovery from narcissistic abuse is a process that takes time, patience, and often professional support. However, it's absolutely possible to heal from these experiences and go on to build healthy, fulfilling relationships. Understanding what healthy relationships look like and how to create them is an important part of your recovery and protection moving forward. The first step in building healthy relationships after abuse is healing from the trauma of narcissistic abuse. This trauma can affect your ability to trust your own judgment, set appropriate boundaries, and recognize healthy versus unhealthy behavior patterns. Working with a therapist who understands narcissistic abuse can be incredibly helpful in processing your experiences and developing new relationship skills. Trauma-informed therapy can help you understand how abuse affected your nervous system, your attachment patterns, and your beliefs about yourself and relationships. This understanding can help you recognize when trauma responses are affecting your current relationships and develop strategies for managing these responses effectively. The second step is rebuilding your sense of self and your confidence in your own judgment. Narcissistic abuse often involves gaslighting and other tactics designed to make you doubt your perceptions and rely on the abuser's version of reality. Healing involves learning to trust your instincts again and developing confidence in your ability to make good decisions. This process often involves reconnecting with your own values, interests, and goals that might have been suppressed or criticized during the abusive relationship. Spend time exploring what brings you joy, what you value in life, and what you want for your future, without considering what anyone else might think about your choices. The third step is learning to recognize the differences between healthy and unhealthy relationship patterns. After experiencing narcissistic abuse, you might find that healthy behavior feels unfamiliar or even boring compared to the intensity of abuse cycles. Understanding that healthy relationships are generally calmer and more stable can help you appreciate these qualities rather than seeing them as signs of disinterest. Healthy relationships are characterized by mutual respect, consistent kindness, emotional support during difficult times, celebration of each other's successes, honest communication about problems, willingness to compromise and negotiate, respect for each other's independence and boundaries, and genuine interest in each other's well-being and growth. In contrast, unhealthy relationships involve power imbalances, inconsistent treatment, emotional manipulation, attempts to control or isolate, disrespect for boundaries, inability to handle conflict constructively, jealousy of your other relationships, or successes and conditional love that depends on your compliance with their demands. The fourth step is developing strong boundaries and the ability to enforce them consistently. Boundaries aren't walls that keep everyone out. They're gates that allow you to control what you let into your life. After narcissistic abuse, you might need to rebuild your boundary-setting skills and learn to enforce limits even when others push back. Practice setting small boundaries in low-risk situations to build your confidence. This might include saying no to social invitations when you need time alone, asking people not to call during certain hours, or requesting that others respect your decisions without arguing. The fifth step is rebuilding your support network and social connections. Narcissistic abuse often involves isolation from friends and family members. Recovery involves reconnecting with people who knew and loved you before the abuse, as well as developing new relationships based on your authentic self. This process takes time because trust has been damaged. Both your trust in others and others' ability to trust that you're available for genuine friendship. Be patient with yourself and others as you rebuild these connections. The sixth step is learning to enjoy your own company and be comfortable with solitude. One of the reasons narcissistic abuse is so effective is that it often targets people who are uncomfortable being alone. Learning to enjoy solitude and find fulfillment in your own company makes you less vulnerable to manipulation and more likely to enter relationships from a position of strength rather than need. Develop interests and activities that you enjoy doing alone. Create a living space that feels peaceful and comfortable, and practice self-care activities that help you feel nurtured and supported even when you're not with other people. The seventh step is understanding your own attachment patterns and how they might have contributed to your vulnerability to narcissistic abuse. This isn't about blaming yourself for the abuse, which was entirely the responsibility of the abuser. Instead, it's about understanding your own psychological patterns so you can make different choices moving forward. Some people are more vulnerable to narcissistic abuse because of their attachment styles, childhood experiences, or deeply held beliefs about relationships and love. Understanding these patterns can help you recognize when you might be at risk and develop strategies for protecting yourself. The eighth step is learning to recognize love bombing and other manipulation tactics, so you can avoid them in future relationships. Education about narcissistic abuse tactics is one of your best protections because it helps you identify problematic behavior patterns before you become emotionally invested. Study the warning signs of narcissistic behavior. Practice recognizing manipulation tactics in media or other people's relationships, and trust your instincts when something feels too intense or too good to be true early in relationships. The ninth step is developing realistic expectations for relationships and understanding that healthy love develops gradually over time. After experiencing the intensity of narcissistic abuse cycles, healthy relationships might feel less exciting initially. Learning to appreciate stability, consistency, and genuine care takes time, but leads to much greater satisfaction and security. Healthy relationships don't provide constant drama or emotional intensity. Instead, they provide steady support, genuine companionship, and the security that comes from being with someone who consistently treats you well. The 10th step is being willing to be vulnerable again while maintaining appropriate boundaries. Recovery from abuse doesn't mean becoming closed off or suspicious of everyone. Instead, it means learning to be selectively vulnerable with people who have earned your trust through consistent, respectful behavior over time. This involves learning to share your experiences appropriately, being honest about your needs and feelings, and allowing yourself to care about others while maintaining your sense of self and your boundaries. Building healthy relationships after narcissistic abuse is possible, but it requires patience with yourself and the process. Don't rush into new romantic relationships before you've done the internal work necessary to protect yourself and recognize healthy versus unhealthy patterns. Consider working with a therapist throughout this process, especially one who understands narcissistic abuse and its effects. Group therapy or support groups can also be helpful because they provide connections with others who understand your experiences and can offer support and perspective. Remember that healing isn't linear, and you might have setbacks or periods where you feel more vulnerable. This is normal and doesn't mean you're not making progress. Be gentle with yourself and celebrate small victories as you rebuild your confidence and relationship skills. The goal isn't to become invulnerable or to avoid all risk in relationships. Instead, the goal is to develop the skills and self-awareness necessary to recognize healthy relationships, enjoy them fully, and protect yourself from those who would harm you. Moving forward with confidence, as we conclude our discussion about protecting your heart from narcissists, I want to leave you with a message of hope and empowerment. While the information we've covered might feel overwhelming or frightening, remember that knowledge is power. Understanding these dynamics gives you the tools to protect yourself while remaining open to genuine love and connection. You are not powerless in this situation. Regardless of your age, your past experiences, or your current circumstances, you have the ability to make choices that protect your well-being and create the kind of life you want to live. The wisdom and experience you've gained over the years are assets, not vulnerabilities, when you know how to use them. Moving forward with confidence means trusting yourself and your judgment. You have decades of life experience that have taught you about human nature, relationships, and what matters most to you. This wisdom is valuable, and you should trust it, even when others try to convince you that you're wrong or too sensitive. Confidence also means being selective about who you allow into your life and heart. You don't owe anyone a chance at a relationship, regardless of how lonely you might feel or how charming they might be. Your time, attention, and affection are precious gifts that should be earned through consistent, respectful behavior over time. Remember that being single is infinitely better than being in a relationship that diminishes your well-being. Loneliness is temporary and can be addressed through friendships, family relationships, community involvement, and personal fulfillment. Abuse, on the other hand, can have lasting effects on your health, finances, and overall quality of life. Don't let fear of being alone make you settle for treatment that falls short of what you deserve. You deserve relationships that enhance your life, support your goals, respect your boundaries, and bring you genuine joy. Don't compromise these standards because someone tells you that you're asking for too much or that you should be grateful for whatever attention you receive. Your past experiences, including any history of abuse or unhealthy relationships, don't define your future possibilities. Every day is an opportunity to make different choices, set stronger boundaries, and create better relationships. Healing is possible at any age, and it's never too late to learn new skills or develop healthier patterns. Take pride in your independence and your ability to care for yourself. These aren't signs of failure in relationships. They're signs of strength and wisdom. Anyone who truly loves you will appreciate your independence and see it as making you a more interesting and capable partner. Continue to invest in yourself and your own growth. This might involve pursuing new interests, developing new skills, strengthening your relationships with friends and family, or working on personal healing and development. The more fulfilled you are as an individual, the less vulnerable you are to manipulation, and the more likely you are to attract healthy partners. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. This might mean working with a therapist to heal from past trauma, consulting with professionals about financial or legal decisions, or reaching out to friends and family when you need support or perspective. Asking for help is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. Stay connected with your community and continue to build relationships with people who share your values and interests. These connections provide support, perspective, and opportunities for meaningful engagement that don't depend on romantic relationships. Trust your instincts and pay attention to red flags, even when they appear in people you want to like or trust. Your safety and well-being are more important than being polite or giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. It's better to be cautious and occasionally miss out on a good opportunity than to ignore warning signs and end up in a harmful situation. Remember that healthy relationships enhance your life without requiring you to sacrifice your independence, your other relationships, or your sense of self. If someone is asking you to choose between them and other important people in your life, or if they're trying to change fundamental aspects of who you are, they're not the right person for you. Keep learning and stay informed about manipulation, tactics, financial fraud, and other risks that might affect you. The more you understand about these topics, the better equipped you are to protect yourself and help others in your community who might be vulnerable. Finally, maintain hope for genuine love and connection. The existence of narcissists and other harmful people doesn't mean that everyone is dangerous or that healthy relationships are impossible to find. There are people in the world who are capable of genuine love, respect, and partnership. Protecting yourself from those who would harm you creates space for those who would cherish you. Your worth is not determined by your relationship status or by anyone else's opinion of you. You have value simply because you exist, because of the love you've given to others throughout your life, because of the challenges you've overcome, and because of the wisdom you've gained. No one can take that away from you, regardless of how they try to manipulate or control you. You have survived challenges before, and you have the strength to handle whatever comes next. Trust in your resilience, your wisdom, and your ability to create the kind of life you want to live. You deserve love, respect, and happiness, and you have the power to create these conditions for yourself. As we wrap up today's comprehensive discussion about protecting your heart from narcissists, I want to remind you that knowledge truly is your greatest weapon against manipulation and abuse. Everything we've covered today, from recognizing red flags to building your emotional armor, is designed to empower you to make informed decisions about the relationships you allow into your life. Remember, you are worthy of genuine love, respect, and partnership at every stage of life. Your age, your past experiences, or your current circumstances don't make you less deserving of healthy relationships. Don't let anyone convince you that you should be grateful for less than what you truly deserve. If you found value in today's content, please show your support by hitting that like button. It helps our videos reach more women who need this information. Take a moment to comment below and share your thoughts, experiences, or questions. Your engagement helps build our community and lets me know what topics are most helpful to you. Please share this video with any woman in your life who might benefit from this information. Whether it's a friend who's recently started dating again, a family member who's going through a divorce, or anyone who could use these protective strategies, sharing could make a real difference in someone's life. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so now and ring that notification bell so you never miss our empowering content. We're building a community of strong, informed women who support each other in creating the lives we deserve. For those who want to show extra support for our mission to help women protect themselves and build better lives, consider leaving a super thanks. Every contribution helps us create more valuable content and reach more women who need these resources. Most importantly, remember that seeking help, setting boundaries, and protecting yourself aren't signs of weakness or failure. They're signs of wisdom and self-respect. You have the right to feel safe, valued, and loved in all your relationships. Take care of yourself, trust your instincts, and never forget your worth. Until next time, stay strong and stay empowered. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in our next video, where we continue building the lives we truly deserve.